Hi, my name is Adrienne Whaley. I'm the Director of Education and Community Engagement at the Museum of the American Revolution. I want to thank you for joining us and our friends from the Philadelphia Jazz Project for this Martin Luther King Day program. Here at the Museum of the American Revolution, our mission is to uncover and share the compelling stories of the diverse people and complex events that sparked America's ongoing experiment in liberty, equality, and self-government. And that ongoing experiment part is really important because the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. saw himself as part of an ongoing American revolution, fighting to make the words of the Declaration of Independence meaningful for all Americans. At the March on Washington in 1963, he said, "When the architects of our republic wrote the magnificent words of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, they were signing a promissory note to which every American was to fall heir. This note was the promise that all men, yes, black men as well as white men, would be guaranteed the unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." He said, "We refuse to believe that the Bank of Justice is bankrupt. We refuse to believe that there are insufficient funds in the great vaults of opportunity of this nation. And so we have come to cash this check, a check that will give us, upon demand, the riches of freedom and the security of justice." Then, on July 4th, 1965, at Ebenezer Baptist Church, he said, "Never before in the history of the world has a socio-political document expressed in such profound, eloquent, and unequivocal language the dignity and the worth of human personality. The American dream reminds us that every man is an heir of the legacy of dignity and worth." For the past few years, we at the museum have been excited to explore and celebrate King's legacy and the connections to both the powerful stories and the lofty ideals of the American Revolution, in part by presenting the We Shall concert with the Philadelphia Jazz Project. This year, we chose some of our favorite moments from previous concerts and also used the wonders of technology, especially Zoom, to drop in on some of the project participants and friends to reflect on their work, the role of music and art in social change, and the ongoing American Revolution. Thank you for joining us. Enjoy.
You are welcome to life, and welcome to the joy of living. You are welcome to love, and welcome to the peace of giving.
Welcome to the babies, welcome to the queens, welcome to the kings, welcome to the dreams, welcome to the suit and ties, welcome to the fiends, welcome to the Terror Dome, welcome to Marines, welcome to fraternities, welcome to degrees, welcome to the worker, that toils for no fee. They told us that we wouldn't get here, and there were those that said that we would get here only over their dead bodies. But all know today that we are here, and we are standing before the forces of power saying,
we shall.
We ain't gonna let nobody turn us around.
We shall.
The power is in our hands.
We shall.
The road ahead is not altogether an easy one. No, there are no broad highways that lead us easily and inevitably to quick solutions. But we must keep going.
We shall.
And going.
We shall.
Welcome to the babies. Welcome to the queens. Welcome to the kings. Welcome to the dreams. Welcome to the suit and ties. Welcome to the fiends. Welcome to the Terror Dome. Welcome to the Navy. Welcome to fraternities. Welcome to degrees. Welcome to the worker that toils for no fee. Free? You might as well continue to wait for civilized discussions at tables. Tailor-made fables still got us chasing labels. Yesterday, cocaine killed the able. Today, fentanyl is the government's new betrayal. 76 are birthed from a revolution, so the revolt is characteristic of a seed postnatal. Welcome to the babies. Welcome to the queens. Welcome to the kings. Welcome to the dreams. Welcome to the suit and ties. Welcome to the fiends. Welcome to the Terror Dome. Welcome to the Army. Welcome to fraternities. Welcome to degrees. Welcome to the worker that toils for no fee. Welcome. Ahlan wa sahlan marhaban bikum. Welcome.
There is a balm in Gilead to heal the wounded soul. There is a balm in Gilead to heal the sin-sick soul. There is a balm in Gilead. 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 Oh, there is a balm in Gilead. Oh, there is a balm. There is a balm. There is a balm. There is a balm.
Y'all, the very blood that runs the course of your veins stains tomorrow's woes and maybe souls to fill the voids of the same. Created by doubts, exposed by those who feign from the love we strive to maintain. While hate works overtime to deceive sustain. From where we are, from the source we came. However, we remain infinite on the tongues of those after the poor libations on our names. We don't hang picture frames. Ogun says, hang broken chains as a reminder for the remedy of hunger pains. We shall will, and as the illuminated star, the resurrects as it surely dies in the evening, in the morning rise to reign. Brother Malcolm said, make it plain. Ready for war, a holy ointment on the bomb, on the frame. From the mountaintop, we'll say it again. Ready for war, a holy ointment from the bomb on the frame. From the mountain, say it again. There's a bomb in Gilead. We will live together as brothers or perish together as fools. The weapon you must choose.
When I was asked by the Museum of the American Revolution to develop a project celebrating the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., I was quite surprised at the beginning. But upon thinking about it, I was actually excited because here we are being invited into a revolutionary museum to work on celebrating a revolutionary individual by using a revolutionary music in this revolutionary moment. Dr. King saw the Constitution not as a sacred, static, or a lifeless piece of paper, but as an ongoing process that comes to life through our participation and experience with it.
Take my legacy. Your naked world has no respectability. I came a long way with no hospitality. It's my life I'm fighting for. It's my life I'm fighting for. It's my life I'm fighting for.
Fought the wars you won, so you won't be uptight. Fought all night and day, just to make things right. What's the use of dying to you? It's just a game. Always giving credit in someone else's name.
dream with no reality. To try and take my pride, take my legacy. Your naked world has no respectability. I came a long way with no hospitality.
It's my life I'm fighting for. It's my life I'm fighting for.
Fighting and 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 fighting. North Philly fighting, South Philly fighting, West Philly fighting, Uptown fighting, fighting for a life, fighting for a life, fighting and 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 fighting. North Philly fighting, South Philly fighting, West Philly fighting, Uptown fighting, fighting for a life.
When I thought about becoming involved with the We Shall project, I thought about a chance or opportunity to go down memory lane with some of my favorite musical titles and favorite musical compositions. And when I thought about the era, which was the Human Rights Coming Out Party, being united with these memories, I found the whole concept irresistible.
I love the philosophy of Dr. King. His philosophies of civil rights and equality for all is deeply connected to his faith and his belief in God, and all of that connects to his activism.
Growing up in the household that I was in, my grandparents followed the struggle. Every day I heard about Dr. Martin Luther King, and I felt as though I had an obligation. Every day in the house, I would see two main pictures on the wall, Dr. King and Jesus. So that meant that there was something important about that. So I had to be a part of both of their lives some way. Even though I was a child, I still had to find a way to get involved. Even to the point where when he was assassinated, it felt like we had lost a family member. So I just felt an obligation to, when there was a chance as I grew older, to find a way to contribute to the community and to do what I could from my perspective in the struggle.
And considering that that is something that is, near and dear to my own heart, my faith, activism for my people, activism for my children, for the next generation. When Homer Jackson reached out to me and asked me to be a part of this project, I knew that this was something that I wanted to be a part of.
This project became so large with all of these musical influences because they are all the same person. They're all connected. They are different facets. You take a diamond and you shine light into it, and the light sprays out in all these different directions. And if you can go back to the light source and realize it's all coming from that same type of struggle against white supremacy, oppression in this country, colonization, etc.
Being able to, translate my experience into the project, as well as, the other artists, that are here. I'm honored.
I thought this was probably like the epitome of my able to being involved and give back and be a part of the struggle as a musician and as an artist. So all those years of not really understanding what was happening around me with the struggle, now as an artist in the struggle, I still feel obligated to Dr. King to do something about what's happening to us on the streets and what's happening to us in reality.
In activism, the role of art is to provide, to me, the artwork can help shape the path forward in resistance.
Even regular languages believe that the way you say a word has a different energy to it. You know, there's certain languages where you can say one word 3 different ways, but the tonality, pitch rising, pitch falling, pitch flat, has 3 different meanings. So if you're taking an incantation, you're repeating it over tones, you're energizing these languages, you know. Then when you get a group of people doing that, you're doing some pure magic. So the point of music is that it is a magical thing, you know. I think Abbie Lincoln said, you know, music is the magic of a secret world. And that, you know, she didn't invent that. She just was making a song based on a universal truth in the regard that there is ritual power connected to the art, specifically the music that we create. And it can energize individuals and communities of people. And it can be a call to action, a call to arms. We'll say transgressive, defiant type of action, protest music.
When I think about the role of music and art as it relates to activism, music is like the soundtrack of our lives, and art provides the images that reflect what's going on in our life. So when our lives require more in the way of activism, we modify that soundtrack and those images to address what's going on in our life.
Because I've always been inclined towards art, you know, I recognize that when I look at something, when I look at a piece of art, even when I look at, well, again, just any kind of media, whether it's television, artwork, or music, you know, recognizing how whatever you're viewing, how it makes you feel.
When we look at the civil rights era, the civil rights movement of the 1950s, the 1960s, you know, the Black Power movement, when we look at that and we look at artists like Gil Scott-Heron and Nina Simone, and you take, you know, so many countless others, from jazz to R&B to gospel, all of which, you know, worked hand in hand in spreading the message of how important Black rights were, equality in this country, and how it's not just a Black issue, this is an American issue. When we look at, you know, take for example, when Billie Holiday she had to enter through the back of a club only to sing Strange Fruit. And when she sang Strange Fruit and she talked about, you know, she talked about lynchings in the South, and the metaphorical language was so powerful, and she's singing this to an all-white audience. You see how music, you know, someone who has the popularity, who has the clout, has also a responsibility through their art to you know, be a voice for an oppressed people. And often you'll see that, you know, in music, you'll see it in artwork. When we take a look at, you know, the visual art, the photography, when you look at that, you see, you know, interwoven in the words and the lyrics and the music, a struggle of a people, you know, in the US, and how one of the main vehicles, the platforms that we could use was music, through our art, through our language, through our poetry, through our, you know, through our dance, through all of the creative mediums, you know, to bring awareness to equality.
The music from the civil rights and Black Power movement struck me hard because being an aspiring drummer, first the rhythms got me, and then the message that was being played by groups like Sly Stone and James Brown. Once the rhythm gets you, you pay attention. Then the underlying message, when you start really focusing on it, you realize how important the message was.
I mean, when I think about the music that was produced during that time, I mean, we're talking about hard hitting, if we're thinking straight ahead jazz, a mix of that fusion, we have a mix of that R&B, intertwined in that is some gospel. I mean, when I think about that music and how it just hits your soul, the lyrics hit your heart, they hit your mind, they hit all of the areas that, you know, impact you to make informed decisions about how you relate to people and how you really your place in the world. It forces you to think.
It kind of was a clarion call sometimes to action, or the music was a measure of what was going on, or the music was even like a balm to soothe, or it was like there for healing, as well as the art.
Music and art and activism, I guess this also touches on the freedom song concept, but even larger than just the freedom song. These are songs that we sing to ourselves, to our community, the way we fellowship with each other, the way that culture speaks. I feel like music and art are the way that culture actually breathes. Culture simply just being a people, a set of people think, act, believe, love each other, survive. And so that goes even into our art. Even in our art, we are demonstrating and maintaining a legacy of how do we survive? How do we love each other through this process? And we do that with music that loves us and the music that we love. We do that in the songs that we create that reflect our philosophies, our life philosophies.
You know, James Brown, say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud. Didn't understand how powerful that was. But when you've got 50 brothers saying it, say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud. That's a pretty powerful movement, or the beginning of a movement.
Black music and art speak to the Black experience. As a historian, I have always used Black music and Black art in my African American history courses that I taught. Mongo Santa Maria's Afro Blue, Sam Cooke, A Change Is Going to Come, The Impressions, This Is My Country.
And then I think about on the jazz end of it, I think about John Coltrane. I think about Nina Simone.
Sly and the Family Stones, Don't Call Me Nigger, Whitey. Richie Haven, What You Gonna Do About Me? Gil Scott-Heron, Winter in America. Duke Ellington's album, My People. John Coltrane's Alabama. Nina Simone's Mississippi, Goddamn.
I think about People Get Ready. I think about I'm Black and I'm Proud. I think about We're a Winner. I think about What's Going On. There was like a multitude from various places of tunes that addressed what we needed during that period of time.
And a lot of the, the different rap artists and things of that nature, they sample these cats.
They are on the path. Like if there's a river and there are stones that are leading into this unknown place, I don't have to chart out things that have already been charted for me, specifically if I know the legacy. If you can go back and cite and listen to, Nina Simone, Mississippi Goddamn, and Dr. Billy Taylor, I Wish I Knew How It Would Feel to Be Free, and all of these songs, and, We Shall Overcome, understanding that there's already a path that is blazed, already a legacy that exists. You don't have to repeat what you can build upon what is done and honor those who did that building, namely honor the ancestors musically and otherwise.
Not to get on a tirade about music of today, there are artists who are doing that, who are taking that legacy of the past and informing the future. But when you see the power of music and art and how people don't necessarily use it as a tool to inform others, that it's almost you're wasting the power of it.
It's like a transmission of sorts, and when you keep tradition integral and you pass on that information, when it goes on to the next generations, they'll have that pure tradition. And, our response to change in the world, the way my people did it, it was so genius.
Once again, I think it's an obligation as an artist and a musician to try to use my platform to do a resurgence of the things that need to be heard, whether it's spirituality, whether it's unity, whether it's equality. But we need to use the music again as a platform to unify the people and also strengthen and empower the people. And it can be done through the music. Hip hop has proven that.
For me, as a musician, as a composer, that's definitely something that I've made a point, is to encourage my people, really to encourage everyone but to, say, hey, there are brilliant, beautiful Black people in this country, and if it weren't for us, America would not be what it is today.
Deep in my heart, deep in my heart. 4 little girls in Alabama murdered by cowards tossing a bomb and we pray. Templates mastered by an intentional killer to slay. 9 in Charleston, South Carolina, and we wait. Options to be humane, numb to blood stains, atrophy upon the brain. We respond to pain. And the source as the mouse on the obstacle course hopes for a varied result. Even when tired, our keeping on makes it sacrilegious to halt. Who will the babies look to if the king's crowns and thrones are removed? Who will the babies look to if the queens lose the belief to reflect the sun's brilliance imbued? Times recycle themselves, but at whose expense? Sense is not common in times of gentrification, foreclosure, and due rent. These are the times when errors die, where we identify the chain of narration and those that carry the message to avoid the lie. Libraries burnt down, culture can't survive above ground. Supermarkets closed, hunters and gatherers use rounds. My father said life done changed as he knew it. I'm just using the tools that the ancestors passed down to go through it. We have made sound the conduit, free from disparity and hypnosis, reinforced with clarity, and prepared by the implementation of autonomy. If the collective continues to wind up blindly, turn your heaters the other way. Everybody hit the ground, but no one wants to make a sound. It's kinda loud in Alabama, everybody hit the ground, but no one wants to make a sound. It's kinda loud in Alabama, everybody hit the ground, but no one wants to make a sound. It's kinda loud in Alabama, everybody hit the ground, but no one wants to make a sound.
wants to make a sound. It's kinda loud in Alabama. Everybody in the crowd wants to make a sound. It's kinda loud in Alabama, everybody in the crowd, but no one wants to make a sound. It's kinda loud in Alabama, everybody in the crowd, but no one wants to make a sound.
Nobody wants to make a sound. Nobody wants to make a sound. Nobody wants to make a sound. Nobody wants to make a sound. Nobody wants to make a sound. Nobody wants to make a sound.
The example, one of the examples that Dr. King gave to me that helped shape my life was how he was able to articulate the situation to the common ear. He knew that it was hard for some people to even think about changing, about leaving, about fighting, about demonstrating, about getting involved. But he had a way of articulating. He knew how to, some people would say there was this Southern preacher, you know what I mean? But he went further, he way farther, but I ain't seen no preacher like him since, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying there aren't any, you know what I mean?
He was not driven by hate. He was driven by the power, because he knew the power of love. He knew the power of ability. And he being a Christian man who believed that, you know, I'm thinking about the scripture, John 3:16, God so loved the world that he gave his son. So Martin Luther King believed that God created a man out of himself, killed that person because of love. If that could happen, everything else can happen. And the people who were under the sound of his voice were always compelled by the reason of love to act.
The power to manifest change. How a word can manifest and change a reality. I think that's one of the greatest lessons I've personally received from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. To be able to be a healthy communicator.
And one of my favorite quotes from him is, an individual has not started living until he can rise above the narrow confines of his individualistic concerns to the broader concerns of humanity. And that quote, it's not one of his most world famous quotes, but I think in the heart of what he's saying is purpose. What is your purpose here on earth? And how does your purpose fit into the grander scheme of our experiences?
We all have a voice, and whatever that voice is, whether it's art, whether it's music, whether it's in the sciences, again, whatever your voice is, whatever your power is, recognizing that you do have power, and that it's imperative. It's imperative to use that knowledge, that power, your voice to do better for yourself and beyond yourself.
He was always about collecting your papers, getting your papers right. That was MLK. So that's something that we can take with him. We have the power to get what we deserve because we understand divine and practical love.
I would say that our lessons include learning about African American history and culture, which includes the life of Dr. Martin Luther King and others like, and of course, I'm going to name some women, Coretta Scott King, Rosa Parks, Fannie Lou Hamer. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. It is our responsibility to read, study, research, listen, and support African American music and art by investing our dollars in them. And they will provide us with the answers and what to do.
And putting an obligation on the churches also, not only to be political, but also to be historical and bring a lot of that information, to the congregation, not only in Black History Month, but throughout the year, giving them the importance of not only, the spiritual importance of the struggle and what Dr. King was talking about, but also about the social economic, situations that we need to deal with. Also letting the children understand that they are important from their age, that they can do things, bringing up situations like some of the young freedom fighters that from the civil rights movement, about how young they were, so they don't feel as though they have to be full-grown adults before they can be effective, and they can be effective in their communities.
His words, he knew how to frame narratives to speak to that person who had not gotten involved yet, put it that way, or that person who might be thinking about getting involved.
Dr. King came to the forefront at a time when people had already affirmed themselves in a small setting, but he came to the forefront when people were making a public affirmation about their humanity. People had already decided that they were full human beings. It was just the system around them that tried to deny that. So when you talk about pieces like We Shall Overcome is not a period piece. Like when people think about it, it's a continuous recognition of struggle. We shall, it's what we will do. And that was the spirit of that era. The spirit of that era was we affirm ourselves as human beings, and this system we weren't like fighting for equality. We knew we were equal anyway. What we were doing was telling the world that this system denied our humanity. We had already affirmed ourselves, and we shall continue to affirm ourselves. So that's the gift he gave us.
Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, let me stand. I am tired, I am weak.
My first encounter with the legacy of Dr. King came probably in grade school. You know, I went to a Catholic grade school, but you know, my teachers were very, I guess, progressive at that time, and honest about, you know, teaching about the civil rights movement, and you know, the various individuals who embodied that, and you know, I soaked that information up, you know, because I saw that I saw myself reflected in those struggles.
In his iconic nature and in his martyrdom has reached like superhero level, right? Where they kind of take away your humanity and they just create this archetype on you, and they incite you. They, you know, they call your name, invoke your presence. I think about his full humanity. I think about the fact that he was a regular human being who chose to do specific things, who was disciplined and dedicated, started very young, was very brilliant, very charismatic. He had problems and he also had solutions, right? I think about the wholeness of him, and I think about how people utilize his namesake and his everything associated with him for their own purposes, without actually communicating with him and who he really was as an individual.
You know, my relationship with Dr. King was up close at times and from a distance. And I was a young man, you know, Doc was in his 30s and I was a teenager. So, you know, he was impressionable to me. That's just natural, you know, but he always, you know, made me feel like he appreciated my presence and my efforts. And I sure enough made him feel like I appreciate his presence, because neither one of us ever ran. I ain't never seen Doc run. I mean, I've never seen him run. I ain't never seen, he's scared. We all scared. We're human, you know, afraid of harm, you know, just psychology, you know, just human nature, man. Nobody wants to get hurt.
There was the Girard College protest, and it was getting national attention. In fact, you know, the Girard College protest goes back many years, beginning with Raymond Pace Alexander. But by the 60s, Cecil B. Moore is able to really get a protest together. So Dr. King came to be part of the protest. He was involved and spoke at Girard College.
Like we tell the children at Girard College when we go to talk to them, we tell the children, we said, listen, I tell the children, I said, look, I quit school so you guys could go to school. And we loved you. We tell the freedom fighters, tell the children at Girard College, we loved you before we knew you. And Dr. King loved decency. He loved humanity, people in humanity, members of humanity, and didn't even know them. If he'd had this support then that he's got now, because quite frankly, you know, I see more Caucasians want to know about Doc than we do, African Americans, really.
But I think about how incomplete his life was, but how complete it was at the same time. He left quite a stamp in what really was a limited amount of time. You know, the work, if you look at the years that he did his public work, it's not a lot of years, but all that impact, we still call his name on a daily basis, you know, decades later.
Depicting someone as iconic as Martin Luther King, it's important for me to put together imagery and a likeness of him that reflects power, nobility, and reverence for the kind of person that he was.
I think if you read the teachings and the speeches of Dr. King, you see that he was passionate and he was endearing when it came to his people, but he wasn't a pushover and he wasn't anybody's chump. And I think that's a point that really has to be driven home, that he would have done whatever it took to advocate for his people because he wanted his children's children to see a different world. And when I think about the music that we produced in We Shall, that it was deeply connected to that we want to see our children's children see a different world.
This experience provides us with an opportunity to reflect on what has come before us, and it's basically a clarion call to what we need to do to maintain what we've accomplished and to even go further for those that follow us. When we reflect on this period and we reflect on the activism in this period, what we're doing is basically powering what is here today and what is to come.
You know, one of his last speeches that he made, we were in New York. I think it was in New York he made it. I was at the Vietnam speech in New York. The police, they attacked us with their horses in Central Park. And Dr. King talked about poverty. He said he was going to campaign a new war, a war against poverty. He said a war where, paraphrase, we cannot afford to have any conscientious objectors. A war everybody needs to join. So he was just fed up with such a rich country as we are today, with this little $600 damn they're trying to give for this pandemic relief. This wealthy country, I mean, wealthy. The big thing I think about this, not to diverse for a minute, is that they're mad because we found out how wealthy we really are. You know what I mean? It's a little money they give everybody, take everybody out of poverty in America if they wanted to. So Dr. King said the poor people need to be addressed. We cannot, let this die. He said, so if you're not going to address the poor people's issues, we're going to bring the poor people to Washington, D.C. and camp out right in their damn face. Poor People's March was born. That was really the attitude of Dr. Said, you ain't going to address it, we come into your house, sit outside your damn door. Every time you come out, you're going to see us.
And, that is the central part of why we did this project, is to inform people, to educate them about the message of Dr. King, and to get them moving to do the work. Because we have to go beyond just discussion. We have to go beyond, and everyone's form of activism is different. My form of activism may not be marching in the streets. My form of activism is composing a song that explains why it's important. Equality is important. Justice is important. Educating yourself is important. Why is all of this important? And, informing you to activate your own form of activism. And so, at the root of this, music and art is important. The message of Dr. King is important to inform the world of how to be more equitable.
How you tired when your mission isn't expired? How you tired when your mission isn't expired? One day we won't see our reflections in the mirror. One day the blindness will make all of our vision clearer. One day our dreams won't be nightmares. One day we will be doers and not sayers. One day we won't sleep, but be awakened without cease. One day, there won't be a limit of 24 hours. One day we will be courageous and death will be the cowards. One day, love will be everywhere. We salute our ancestors, those who have transitioned into the next life. So we say Ibaye to salute. Ibaye, Addie Mae Collins. Ibaye, Carol Denise McNair. Ibaye, Cynthia Wesley. Ibaye, Carol Rosamond Robinson. Ibaye, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Coretta Scott King. Rosa Parks. Delvin Blair. Stephen Biko. El Haj Malik Shabazz. Betty Shabazz. Medgar Evers. Huey P. Newton, Dick Gregory, Ibaye, John Coltrane, Ibaye, Alice Coltrane, Ibaye, Leon Thomas, Ibaye, Dennis Robinson, Margaret Robinson, Joseph Chappelle, Grace DeBose Cook. I am because we are. There's no me without you. There's no you without me. Love is everywhere. Love is everywhere.
Everywhere.